Did you know that improved digestion may only be the second or third best thing that chewing your food brings to the table? And the most beneficial aspect may actually be around what it does for our stress? Yep. So if you're eating right now, pay attention. No, not to me, to chewing that grub. Well, both, actually. You know what? Maybe just drink for now and get back to that meal after the video. Because by the end, you may just be craving something else. Yo! What is up? Welcome back to another week of How to Health. My name is Kevin. I run liftinbalance.com, where we take aim at all things health and longevity and do it in an odd, weird, interesting, and highly sarcastic way. Today, we are exploring the O2 common stress eating, and more importantly, how to craft a strategy around it. Because we've all been there, whether it's triggered by a single event or a flood of micro stressors throughout the day. Stress just has this mythical power that turns us into the Cookie Monster upon secretion, hypnotizing us to choose foods that drip our neuronal dopamine the fastest and heaviest. I, for one, would literally turn into a Cookie Monster and grab a few variety boxes from the corner market every time the siege of stress would break down my willpower walls. And it turns out, it's not our fault. Kind of, at least. Because new data, which we will be reviewing today, shows that different areas of the brain, and specifically areas which modulate the drip of dopamine every time we indulge in a tasty treat, get messed with when we're stressed out. And just in case you were wondering, not in a health-promoting way. Yeah, sorry. But that's okay, because we are going to walk through a number of different tactics, both short-term and long, to not only enhance your stress defenses, but also deal with it in the moment, because nobody's got monk level zen on the reg. That being said, I bet if a study was done looking into it, we'd find that one of the secrets to a monk's zen may be their preference for real, whole, natural foods from the earth. You know what? This may warrant asking AI. What do monks typically eat? All right, let's see. Oh, in general, monks eat simple, healthy foods that are meant to nourish the body and mind. They avoid processed foods, sugary drinks, and excessive amounts of meat. Well, would you look at that? A perfect time to dive into this new data. A research team out of Garvan Institute of Medical Research in Sydney, Australia, sought to see why most organisms will eat more than usual, choosing calorie-rich options high in sugar and fat when they're stressed, and why they can't seem to stop. To do this, they used an animal model along with advanced neuronal modulating techniques to identify and tune the key regions which manage this stress eating response. Here, they reconfirmed that a specific region of the brain called the lateral habenula becomes active when we eat, an area which, along with other key tasks, is involved in switching off the brain's reward response. They found that this brain region was critical in dampening the reward response as the mice ate a high-fat, ultra-palatable diet, ultimately protecting the animal from overeating. However, there's always a however. When researchers induced chronic stress on these cheese-loving rodents, things changed. Brain things changed. The lateral habenula, which stopped the mice from overeating, was silent, being inhibited by signals from the stress center of the brain, the amygdala, allowing the reward signal to stay active and encourage feeding for pleasure, while not responding to satiety signals properly. Oh, sounds kind of familiar, no? And get this. The stressed out mice on a high-fat diet had a much higher propensity to gain fat and overall weight, specifically twice as much compared to mice on the same high-fat diet that were not stressed. Also finding that stress led mice to favor artificially sweetened water when compared to the non-stress controls on the same high-fat diet, having researchers reconfirm stress as a critical regulator of eating habits that can override the brain's natural ability to balance energy needs, and showing the exact mechanisms at play. They concluded, this research emphasizes just how much stress can compromise a healthy energy metabolism. It's a reminder to avoid a stressful lifestyle, and crucially, if you are dealing with long-term stress, try and eat a healthy diet and lock away the junk food. And I think we all know, easier said than done. And hopefully, this data isn't stressing you out, because that would just really be counterproductive. Now, as with all data we review, we must discuss the limitations. First one being the fact that mice are not humans. And second, reiterating that the brain is a very complex organ, one which we still don't know much about in the grand scheme of things. So it'd just be straight up ignorant to think that there were no unforeseen variables that we were not akeen to, either due to technology or just not looking in the right places. Nonetheless, this data is very interesting because it provides a first of its kind look into the neuronal mechanisms in which stress turns us into modern day cookie monsters, often with a side of Oscar the Grouch. With that, the question becomes, how do we transform back or prevent ourselves from getting to this stress eating state in the first place? Here are some things to noodle on. We know from all the other powwows on this channel that being in a chronic fight or flight state is bad for biological business. And the unfortunate truth is, this once acute, life-saving response has been permanently switched on for many people on this beautiful floating rock, fueled by a 24/7 breaking news, social scrolling, psychologically triggering modern world that we live in, taking a serious toll on both our here and now health and long-term vitality, or that longevity thing we talk about so much. And to be very frank with you guys, it don't gotta go down like that, because stress is something that we can very much manage. How, you ask? Well, a mixture of proactive habits and strategies to de-stress in the moment. And ironically, as we talk about in this video here, one of the best ways to prevent bad stress is with good stress.
What the hell did you just say?
Doing things that stress your cellular self to the point where you become more resilient, ultimately shifting your internal state to a point where it is straight up harder to become stressed out physiologically and biochemically in the first place. And I want to give the disclaimer, harder, but not impossible. So, what are some of these good acute stressors? Think exercise, phytonutrient-rich foods, along with strategic periods of fasting and heat or cold exposure. These are all activities that classify as proactive good stressors, which we break down how to practically apply into your daily life in that aforementioned video. Some of the other best things that you can do to proactively manage and prevent stress is prioritizing high-quality circadian aligned sleep and spending time in nature. Two key evolutionary habits which we have deep biological ties to. All in all, these acute stress and calm-inducing habits have been shown to balance and align natural cortisol cycles, which is our main stress hormone, activate the parasympathetic rest and digest nervous system, relax the cardiovascular system, increase the secretion of mood-boosting, pain-relieving, stress-reducing bioactive compounds, such as endorphins, endocannabinoids, and opioids, improve microdiversity, boost brain function, and reduce overall inflammation levels, all while optimizing your natural detoxification pathways in the process, ultimately putting your pretty cool meat suit in a straight-up harder position to become stressed out in the first place. Proactivity at its finest. Now, I want to spend a minute and talk about the power of sustainably building your eating habits around real whole foods. Not only will it make you operate more efficiently at the cellular and metabolic level, but they'll place you at less risk if and when you fall into the stress eating trap. Think about it. If you've changed the definition of what you consider a snack, from cookies, donuts, candy, and ice cream, to things like fruits, nuts, seeds, smoothies, or a nut butter of your liking, the collateral damage from stress snacking is a totally different story. So conducting this little N of 1 experiment here and now may be valuable. Identify what ultra-processed snacks you may have a slight or kind of intense dependency on, and begin to slowly swap them out for a healthy alternative. One that tastes just as good, sometimes in a different way, but unlike the former, makes you feel good too. And if you think it's impossible and you just can't change, research has shown repeatedly that our taste preferences can and do adjust after a few weeks of altered eating, reinforcing that many good things await on the other side of discomfort. Staying on the topic of prevention, the very best thing you may ever do for your stress management endeavors is spending some time to identify your triggers, becoming a better observer of thyself, specifically honing in on your unique triggers, or the stimuli which consistently constrict your blood vessels, increase your heart rate, make you sweat, desire that ultra-processed snack, and engage in an all-out psychological war with yourself. Think of a trigger as a common stimuli which repeatedly elicits a low dose or full-fledged fight or flight response. And they're critically important because it's hard to right your ship or even measure progress if you don't understand what's setting you off. So think about it. Observe thyself and take note of these common stimuli. It could be specific to work, family, your commute, watching the news, or scrolling your favorite social media feed. I find that a short daily meditation is a great way to nurture the skills which make you a better observer of your thoughts. Simply sitting down for a few minutes, focusing on your breath and observing what pops into your head, letting thoughts enter and leave, and delineating that you are not, in fact, those thoughts. This helps with becoming a better observer of your mind, making it easier to identify your triggers and even catch yourself before you get set off out there in the wild. Continuing our tactical siege on stress, I also like to make eating the experience, kind of sounds like a Disney attraction, as stress-free as possible. Because as we alluded to way back in the intro, chewing has actually been shown to elicit a stress-relieving effect. And guess what we modern intelligent walking apes do a really bad job of? Just that. So building a 15-second routine of sitting down, taking a deep breath, expressing a little gratitude for the nourishment you're about to consume, and chewing your food is a lost art when it comes to stress management. All things very much in your control. And when you find yourself in the midst of a stressful event, which we all will at some point or another, instead of turning to food, take a quick detour to breath, or one of the most powerful biochemistry altering tools that we have, specifically deep belly nasal breaths. Because when you breathe through your nose and fill up the lower parts of your lungs, you activate a number of parasympathetic rest and digest signals which immediately begin to relax you, sending signals from the nasal passageway and the diaphragm to the brain and cardiovascular system that there is no imminent physical attack. Because if there was, you would be moving swiftly and breathing rapidly through your mouth, which you're not when you deploy this hack. In fact, you're doing the opposite. Box breathing may be the simplest way to put this to practice. Inhale, hold, exhale, hold for an equal amount of time, repeating until you begin to regain your composure. Breath work, and specifically deep controlled inhales and exhales, may very well be the fastest and most efficient way to cool yourself down in the midst of having a moment. And it's assisted ever so nicely by going outside, getting some fresh air and touching some grass, as nature has been consistently shown through an ever-growing body of research to be one of the best stress reducers we have. At this point, hopefully you realize that everything in this pretty cool meat suit we call our body is connected. And when we allow this modern stress-inducing world to get to us, especially in a chronic way, the way which affects most people on this beautiful floating rock, it not only affects our food choices, but everything else. So taking a few hours to think through your own relationship with stress and how to make it better is truly an investment that can add years to your life. Or better put, maximize healthy years. Because at the end of the day, when it's all said and done, the person that you are going to interact with most, more than anyone else in your life, isn't your mom, dad, sibling, spouse, kids, or even your dog. It's you. The dialogue within, which bounces around our cranial cabinets whether we realize it or not. So might as well do the work to make it a place that you can not only tolerate, but actually enjoy. And if you're ever in doubt, remember, be proactive, breathe, and for heaven's sake, chew your food.